Welcome to the homecoming edition of the MBU Football Coaches Show. I'm Guy Danhoff, and of course, I'm with Coach B. Coach, let's talk about last Saturday. It was played right here at Spartan Field as we were battling Olivet Nazarene. And it was one of those games where you really played some outstanding footballs, maybe perhaps some of the best football you played all season, and particularly in the second half. Even though we fell short 37-30, but I would think you kind of got to characterize that as just time kind of ran out on you, but you did a lot of great things. I was maybe wondering if you could share the Spartan fans some of those highlights.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We did a lot of good stuff, especially in the second half. I think the biggest highlight was the offense. The offense really started clicking at a high level, started executing, making some plays. Did something that I know we haven't done very often, if ever, in our short history, and that's score on every possession that we had the ball in the second half.
Yeah.
And I think that's really saying something against a really good Olivet team. So it was great to see them kind of start clicking it in and get it going. Obviously, turnovers helped. We went the whole half without a turnover, and that makes a big difference. Unfortunately, defense, we went out and we weren't probably as sharp as what we were in the first half. And as a whole, I don't feel like we were as sharp as what we've been in the previous games leading up to last Saturday, because if we get a couple of stops and make a few plays that we know we're capable of making, the outcome is a lot different. And that's, again, part of this learning curve with our team that we have to just grind through this year. I know Kevin afterwards mentioned about just kind of running out of time.
Right.
And although there's truth to that, I think the thing that I shared with the team is that it wasn't that we run out of time. We just didn't use our time efficiently.
Right.
We had the same amount of time in the first half that we didn't use in the same manner that we did in the second half on both sides of the ball. And those things add up to, having to claw yourself and eventually running out of time.
Yeah, it was a big game for the Spartans. Again, offensively, especially to start the second half. You've actually done this the last few games. You've made these halftime adjustments, and they're working on both sides of the ball. So, also we want to mention that O'Dane Reed, our field goal kicker, was the MSFA Special Teams Player of the Week for the second time of his career, first time this season. And what do you want to say about Odie?
Well, Odie's done a great job. We've kind of put him in some more realistic situations. I think early on, he was dealing with the leg injury, and we weren't sure how much we were going to be able to use him. And of course, we were using Jonah at some point, and then that competition was won out by Odie, and we've really just stuck to keeping him in some manageable field goal positions.
Right.
Obviously, if the situation calls for it, we're going to let him try those long ones because we know he's capable of it. But when you're looking at a percentage standpoint and everything like that, when we've been 45 and in, he's darn near 100% on the year. So his misses early on were really long field goals that we were coming in trying to take advantage of that. But no, he's done a really good job, and I think the whole operation, starting with DeMarcus Allen snapping and Jaden George doing the holding, that whole operation is clicking right now, and it's good to see.
Absolutely, and I guess the only other thing I want to say is from the statistics standpoint on offense, you had a 200-yard passer, 100-yard receiver, and Gavin Claude put on a clinic. Josh Munn, thank you. Josh Munn, put on a clinic. Then, of course, your running back also had over 100 yards. I honestly don't remember last time it's happened.
No, I can't remember that either. And, I think that's a credit to just the whole unit. The offensive line doing a little bit better job in the second half. They were close. There were just some little things that Coach Novel had to get fixed with them at halftime. Lionel Banks continues to come on and run the ball well. I thought Demo ran the ball extremely well when he got his opportunities. But they're becoming a really dynamic duo there. And it was great to have Josh back. He's a playmaker. He's a competitor. And what those guys did, with him and Cam and Shane Becker out there. The exciting thing that we just keep talking about, and I was talking to DeMarcus Allen just minutes ago about how if we can keep this group together, we've got a chance to be pretty good because, we do have a lot of young talent on this team, and it's just nice to see them continue to develop, and they show up every day and work, and that's all we can ask.
Yeah, what was kind of really amazing about Josh Munn is he did all in the second half. I mean, the stat line on him was insane. what he did in just one half of football. So let's turn our attention now to Trinity. That's obviously going to be for our last home game. It's also senior day, and we'll get to that in a second. But Coach, historically, we have a 4-1 record against Trinity. Obviously, we lost last year in a close game, but prior to that, we've won 4 straight in a row. And so, what have you been telling the team as they gear up for the 0-7 Trinity International squad?
Well, these are games that make me nervous, honestly, because I think it is possible to overlook them. It is possible to just think, okay, we're through the toughest part of our season, playing the Marions, the St. X, the Olivets, ranked teams week in and week out, and it's real easy to kind of sit back and say, okay, now this one, this is going to be easy, and it's far from it. They've got a very young team as well. They're very well coached in what they do, and they're just trying to develop their guys in the same way we're trying to develop them, or our guys, but They've got some talent. They've got some playmakers on that team. It's just, I think, where we're stressing is that this is a game just like the other ones, but even more so where we just have to be us. We have to go out and perform at our highest level. The offense needs to pick up where they left off last week. You can't have a letdown there. We've got to protect the football. Defensively, I think we've got to get back to our base calls, which we did. We just didn't execute them as well as needed to last week. And give credit to Olivet. I mean, that was a really big offensive line. They did some good stuff. They were physical. They've got, some really good wide receivers. I think we match up a little bit better with Trinity in the sense that, there's not that 6'2", 210-pound wide receiver out there. But they do have guys who can run. So we've got to be disciplined. We've got to take care of our job and do our job at the highest level. And like I continue to tell them, when their play or their number is called, then we need them at their best. And they've got to be at their best when we need their best.
I'm just glad we're playing that game here on the turf and not like last year in the monsoon with that grass field. It's hard to believe that there's a all-natural grass field, and when it gets wet there, oh, wow.
Yeah, and that made a difference. We're not into making excuses. I think they went out and out, executed us top to bottom anyway. But there's no doubt that makes a difference. It's great to be here. It's great to have that turf and allow some of our physicality and speed to show. And I know that's going to be an advantage to us, but it's also going to be an advantage to them because their guys that can run are going to be even faster than what they are at home as well. So it's just going to come down to doing the little things and being focused and bringing energy. I didn't think we had great energy in the first half, and we've got to bring it this week for 60 minutes.
Absolutely. And so this is going to be kind of a bittersweet game from the standpoint that for 9 of your seniors, this will be the last time they play at Spartan Field. And let's just name them off, the first 5, because those are the true seniors. And I don't know about you, but I just have to say Joe King's name that he won't be on the field, number 2. Wow, that reality is just crazy. You've got your running back, Ronald Allen, Austin Richards, Domingo Loggins, and Rod Smith. I mean, those are your 5, seniors that went through the normal process. Anything you want to say about them?
Well, I mean, it's unusual because 4 out of the 5 are defensive backs that I've spent a lot of time with. So, that's going to be a hit to our secondary as we move forward. We've got some young guys, but I can't say enough about those 4. Having the honor and privilege to work with them over their 5 years and that they've been here and how much they've developed and grown has been just unbelievable to watch, and every last one of them. And can't say enough about Joe. Obviously he's been the quarterback of the defense. Really took over the role that Jalen Cowley left in regards to leading the defense and has been tremendous. Ron Allen has been a tremendous asset to us, came to us as a transfer. What's also very nice is, Ron is of those 5, Ron is the only transfer that we've got in that group. Wow. And really everybody else has been here since the beginning. And that's important. It's important to keep those guys and develop them because the growth that you're able to see in these guys, not just on the field but off the field, earning degrees, it's fantastic. Ron's been a tremendous asset to us. And then we have 4 other seniors that are really not choosing to take their COVID year,
Right.
and move on to grad school. Some of them move on into their professional life. But Jacob Harness, who's had a really good year, will be walking on Saturday, and he's been tremendous this year. We challenged him in the offseason. He wanted a bigger role, and he's really embraced that role.
Yep.
Drew Gillig's another guy who's been with us since day one, just like Jake. Terrell Powell, who we've moved around positions. Unfortunately, he had the wrist injury this year, but has given us great minutes over the years, and another guy that will do great things. And then finally, Seth Lowry is a guy who's unfortunately the last 2 years suffered knee injury, but we kind of call him Coach Lowry because he's always in the game. He works with the D-line, helps them out, helps Coach Co. Out of all those guys, 8 of the 9 are all 4-year or 5-year guys for us, and can't tell them enough how much I appreciate them and how much they mean to us as a program, because that kind of commitment level is great, and we're in an era right now where that's going to start maybe being the exception, not the rule, and I hope that that's not the case, because I feel like the ability for coaches and programs to develop guys is so key.
So the last question I have for you, let's just think about the rest of the season. Obviously, this Saturday, Trinity. Then you have 2 more games on the road. What have you been telling your team now as you wrap up the season?
Well, we have a lot to play for.
Right.
Our goal coming in the year is to win a conference championship. And like I told them, okay, that's off the table, but that doesn't mean that we're not still working to be a championship level team.
Right.
And to be that, we have to show up week in and week out. We have to prepare on the practice field. We can't just take these last 3 weeks off, because at the end of the day, we want to take one at a time, but it's still on the table for us to win out. And that would give us 5 wins. It would give us the most wins that we've ever had in a single season. That is a big deal. And I think that gives you some momentum moving into the off season. You can then sit back and say, we're right there in a lot of these other games. And, I think in my conversation with DeMarcus just recently, he kind of pointed out that outside of Marion, in every other game, we've been either down 3 or down 7 at half. With the exception of last week with Olivet, we were down a little bit more, but we ended up losing by 7. So, in all those games, we're right there, and it's just the little things that we've got to continue to dial in for, but there's still a lot for this team to play for, and I don't see them quitting. I don't see them sitting back and, kind of tossing in the towel, because that's not the mentality of our guys, and it's certainly not the mentality of our coaching staff.
Absolutely. The one thing that we can say year in, year out, the Spartans never quit. That is one thing. I'm saying this from the broadcast booth. I've been with the team since day one, been covering all football here since year one, and that is something that is very true about Spartans. They will not quit. They always have that fight, and hopefully maybe they can string that 3 victories together and finish with that 5-win season, which you've never had before.
Yeah, and something that I even mentioned to Dr. Smith, and I've said it to a few people as well, is that there's things that are outside of our control, scholarship dollars, some of that, where some of these other schools have a very large scholarship budget that they're on a whole nother level than other teams in our league, not just us, but other teams as well. But I feel like when you're looking at that, we are the most competitive of those teams. When you compare us to some of the other teams that are maybe in the lower part of the league, and I'm not talking scholarships, I'm just talking wins and losses.
Right.
We go into these games and are far and away very competitive compared to some of the other teams, and that's something that we're really proud of, because we know that our guys show up and compete every single week, and they're tough guys, and that's what we want from them.
Well, hopefully you can continue that momentum this Saturday for the big homecoming game right here at Spartan Field. We want to thank you for tuning in for the special homecoming edition of the Coaches Show. For Jason Burianek, I'm Guy Danhoff. We want to thank you for watching right here on the Spartan Digital Network.